Grandma, I'm so hungry. He locked me in my room, and Mom won't wake up. My 7-year-old grandson, calling from a number I didn't recognize, voice shaking. Then I heard a car door slam. The line went dead. I hadn't seen him in 6 months. His mother stopped letting me visit. I drove through the dark, not knowing what I'd find. When I got there, the house was pitch black. Nobody answered the door. So I picked up a rock from the garden, and I broke that window. What I found inside that house made my blood run cold. And what I had to do next would change our lives forever. My name is Judith Morrison. I'm 72 years old. And this is my story. Before we continue, please leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and subscribe to Never Too Old channel. We're creating a community of people who know that our best chapters can happen at any age. Now back to the story. The phone rang at 8:30 on a Tuesday. I was rinsing my dinner plate, the kitchen window showing my reflection against the dark outside. I live alone in a 2-bedroom house on Riverside Drive, in a town most people have never heard of. The phone sat on the counter, the screen lighting up with a number I didn't recognize. Something in my chest tightened before I even picked it up. Hello? Grandma? The voice was small, shaking. My hand gripped the counter. Liam? Grandma, I'm so hungry, he was whispering, like someone might hear. Mom won't wake up and he locked me in my room. Please come get me. Please? A sound in the background. A car door slamming. I have to. The line went dead. I stood there with the phone pressed to my ear, listening to silence. My hands had started to shake. I pulled the phone away, looked at the number, pressed call. It rang 4 times and went to a generic voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. Then I called Rachel. Straight to voicemail, her voice chirpy and fake. Hey, this is Rachel, leave a message. I hung up and called again, and again. 5 times, each one going to that same bright recorded voice, while my grandson was somewhere, locked in a room, hungry and scared. I grabbed my keys from the hook by the door, my coat, my purse. My phone kept ringing, Rachel's number as I walked to the car, as I backed out of the driveway, as I turned onto the main road heading east. 45 minutes through dark roads. I'd made this drive before, but not like this. Not with my hands shaking and my phone in the cup holder, trying Rachel's number over and over. Each call went straight to that bright voicemail message. The headlights cut through the night. My mind kept going back. 4 years ago, my son Danny died on Route 60, 3 miles from his house. A truck ran a red light. The officer who came to my door said he didn't suffer. I don't know if that was true, but I thanked him anyway. Danny was 32. Liam was 3. Walter, my husband, held it together for the funeral. Shook hands, accepted casseroles, thanked people for coming. 3 weeks later, I found him in the garage, slumped over the workbench. Heart attack. The doctor said grief can do that. Put strain on the heart until something breaks. I buried my husband 5 weeks after I buried my son. Rachel and I clung to each other after that. She'd move into our house some weeks. Couldn't stand being in hers without Danny. Liam would sleep in his father's old room, and I'd make breakfast for the 3 of us. We didn't talk much, just sat together. I thought we'd always have that. Then 2 years ago she met Derek at some bar in town. He seemed fine at first, polite enough when he came to pick her up. He had a job doing something with construction, said he made decent money. Rachel smiled more when she talked about him. I wanted her to be happy. She'd lost so much. The visits started spacing out. Every week became every other week. Then once a month. Then she called and said they were moving. Derek had a better opportunity an hour away. And could I help them pack? I drove out and loaded boxes into a truck. Derek barely looked at me. Rachel was jumpy, talking fast about their new place and how Liam would love the backyard. Liam sat on the porch steps, quiet. He was 5 then. After they moved, I'd call and Rachel would say they were busy, settling in. Derek was working long hours. I could come visit in a few weeks. A few weeks turned into 2 months. When I finally drove out to Pine Street unannounced, Rachel answered the door in sweatpants, her hair unwashed. The house smelled like stale beer. She said Liam was napping and I should have called first. I saw him for 20 minutes. He looked smaller than I remembered. The last time I saw Liam was 6 months ago. Rachel had finally agreed to bring him to my house for Sunday dinner. She showed up an hour late without Derek, said he had to work. Liam was too thin, his shirt hung off his shoulders and he barely touched his food. When Rachel went to the bathroom, I pulled an old cell phone from my junk drawer, the one I'd kept charged in case of emergencies. I knelt down next to Liam in the hallway. "Listen to me, sweetheart. I'm going to put this in your backpack, okay? If you ever need me, if you're ever scared, or you need help, you call this number." I showed him the contact labeled Grandma. "You can charge it behind your dresser. Just plug it in when you're alone. Nobody needs to know. Can you do that for me?" He nodded. His eyes were wide, and something in them made my stomach hurt. "Do you need help now?" I whispered. He glanced toward the bathroom, shook his head. Rachel came back and said they had to go. I hugged Liam at the door and felt his ribs through his shirt. I called Rachel every week after that. Most times she didn't answer. When she did, she said everything was fine. I was worrying too much. Liam was in school and doing great. I asked when I could visit. She'd say soon. Soon. Derek's been stressed and they needed family time. I stopped calling after a while. I didn't know what else to do. Until tonight. The GPS said I was 10 minutes away. My hands ached from gripping the steering wheel. I turned onto Pine Street and slowed, checking house numbers in the dark. Theirs was at the end, a small rental with peeling paint and a yard full of weeds. One window glowed dim yellow. The rest of the house was dark. I parked on the street and walked up the cracked driveway. The front door had a wreath on it, half the fake flowers missing. I pressed the doorbell, heard it chime inside. Nobody came. I pressed it again, knocked. "Rachel, it's Judith. Open the door." Nothing. I walked around to the side of the house, my shoes crunching on gravel. The kitchen window was head high, curtains open. I could see the sink piled with dishes, a trash bag overflowing on the floor. I went back to the front yard and picked up a decorative rock from the flower bed, smooth and heavy in my hand. Then I walked to the kitchen window and swung. The glass broke with a sound that seemed too loud. Shards fell inside and onto the grass. I used the rock to clear the bottom edge, then grabbed the window frame and pulled myself up. A piece of glass caught my palm, and I felt it slice, warm blood running down my wrist, but I didn't stop. I got my knee onto the sill and shoved myself through, landing hard on the linoleum floor inside. The smell hit me first, alcohol and old garbage and something sour I couldn't place. I stood up, glass crunching under my shoes, and looked around. The living room was worse than the kitchen. Empty beer bottles covered the coffee table. An ashtray overflowing with cigarette butts, fast food wrappers on the floor, dirty plates stacked on the couch. Rachel was on that couch, lying on her side, one arm hanging off the edge. She wore stained sweatpants and a t-shirt with something spilled down the front. Her mouth was open. I could smell the alcohol from where I stood. "Rachel." My voice came out harder than I meant. "Rachel, wake up." She didn't move. I stepped closer and shook her shoulder. Her head lolled, but her eyes stayed closed. I put my fingers to her neck and felt a pulse. Slow but there. Then I heard it. A small sound from upstairs, crying. I moved fast, taking the stairs 2 at a time, blood from my hands smearing on the railing. The hallway was dark. 3 doors, 2 open and 1 closed. The crying came from behind the closed one. There was a lock on the outside. A sliding bolt, the kind you'd put on a shed. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely grip it. The blood made it slippery. I wiped my palm on my coat and tried again, sliding the bolt back with a metal scrape that sounded too loud. I pushed the door open. The room was small and bare, a mattress on the floor with a thin blanket, a dresser with the drawers half open. The window had been painted shut, thick white paint sealing the frame. And there, on the mattress, was Liam. He looked up at me with eyes too big for his face. His cheeks were hollow. His hair hung greasy and too long. He wore pajamas that didn't fit anymore, the pants stopping above his ankles. In his hand he clutched a baseball cap, navy blue with a faded logo. Danny's cap, from high school. "Grandma," he whispered, "you came." I crossed the room and dropped to my knees beside him. He fell into my arms and I felt how light he was, how I could feel every bone in his back, how his whole body was shaking. "I've got you," I said into his hair. "I've got you now." He held on like he'd never let go. He was so thin. I could see his ribs through the pajama shirt, each one pressing against the fabric. His collarbones stuck out sharp. His face looked hollow, cheeks sunken in a way that made him look older than 7. Dark circles ringed his eyes like bruises. The baseball cap in his hand was the only thing that looked right. Navy blue, faded from years of washing, with a logo I'd seen on Danny 1,000 times. Liam held it against his chest with both hands. "I knew you wouldn't forget me," he said. I pulled him close and felt how light he was. When I lifted him, I could feel every bone in his back through his shirt, his spine a ridge under my hand. He wrapped his arms around my neck and held on so tight I could barely breathe. He was shaking, this trembling that wouldn't stop. After a minute, I made myself look around the room. The mattress on the floor had a thin blanket. No sheets. One flat pillow with a stain on the case. In the corner sat a small pile of clothes, a few t-shirts and pants that looked too small for him now. Next to that, empty granola bar wrappers scattered on the floor. The window had been painted shut. Thick white paint sealing the frame closed. The dresser had 3 drawers, 2 hanging open and mostly empty. Behind it, just visible, a white phone charger cord plugged into the outlet, the one I'd told him to use. On the outside of the door, that bolt lock, shiny and new against the old wood. I looked down at Liam. "Tell me what's been happening." He pulled back enough to see my face. His eyes were red. "Derek locks me in here every night. When he gets home from work, he puts me in and locks the door." "Every night?" "Yeah. And he doesn't let me out until morning. Sometimes he brings crackers or a sandwich first. Sometimes he forgets." His voice got smaller. "When he forgets, my stomach hurts real bad." "What about your mom?" "She sleeps all the time. She doesn't wake up when I yell for her." He wiped his nose with the back of his hand. "Derek says she's tired and I need to leave her alone." "When did you stop going to school?" "I don't know. A long time." He looked down at the baseball cap. "Derek said I can't go anymore, because I talk too much, and the teachers ask questions." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "How do you get food when he forgets to bring you any?" "Sometimes during the day, before Derek comes home, I can get out. Mom's sleeping so she doesn't hear me." His voice dropped to almost nothing. "Yesterday I went downstairs and climbed out the kitchen window. There's a lady next door and she was in her yard. She saw me and asked if I was hungry." "She gave you food?" He nodded. "A sandwich. I ate it really fast. She wanted to know if I was okay and I got scared, so I ran back inside before Derek came home." "What's her name?" "Mrs. Foster. She has a dog named Buddy." I stroked his hair back from his forehead. It was greasy, needed washing. "You were brave to call me tonight. I was really scared. I heard Derek's truck and I had to hide the phone super fast." He touched the baseball cap. "I held this and thought about Dad. I thought maybe you'd come if I told you. I'm here now, and I'm taking you with me. What if Derek says no?" I stood up, keeping him on my hip. My back protested, but I didn't care. He doesn't get a say. We made it to the hallway when I heard the front door bang open downstairs. "What the hell?" A man's voice, slurred and angry. "Who broke my damn window?" "Derek." I kept walking toward the stairs. Liam's arms tightened around my neck. Derek appeared at the bottom, swaying. He was a big man, over 6 feet, with a gut hanging over his belt. His face was red, and his eyes unfocused. He looked up and saw us. "Judith?" He grabbed the railing. "What are you doing in my house?" I came down the stairs slowly, one hand on Liam's back, the other on the railing. Blood from my cut palm left smears on the white paint. "I'm taking him with me." "The hell you are." He started up toward us. "You broke into my house. I'm calling the cops." "Good." I stepped past him on the stairs, turning sideways to keep Liam away from him. "I already am." "You can't just take him." His breath smelled like whiskey. "Get out." I reached the bottom and walked into the living room. Rachel was still on the couch, hadn't moved. Derek followed, stumbling over a beer bottle on the floor. I pulled my phone from my coat pocket and dialed 911, put it on speaker. 911, what's your emergency? My name is Judith Morrison. I'm at 247 Pine Street. I need police and an ambulance. My grandson has been locked in a room and starved. His mother is unconscious from alcohol. Derek's face went white, then red. You can't. There's also an intoxicated man here threatening me. Ma'am, are you in immediate danger? Not if he stays back. Units are on the way. Stay on the line. Derek took a step back, then slumped into the recliner. This is my house, he muttered. My house. Liam buried his face in my neck. The sirens came fast. Red and blue lights flashed through the window, car doors slamming, heavy footsteps. 2 officers came through the broken kitchen window, hands near their belts. The first one through was a woman, dark hair pulled back, sharp eyes scanning everything. I'm Officer Harper. Who called? I did. I nodded toward Derek in the chair. That's Derek Vaughn. The woman on the couch is my daughter-in-law, Rachel Morrison. This is my grandson, Liam. Officer Harper came closer and looked at Liam. Her expression stayed neutral, but something shifted in her eyes. Hi, Liam. I'm Linda. Liam turned his face away. The second officer, younger with a nameplate reading Parker, moved toward Derek. Sir, stand up, please. Derek didn't move. Sir. Derek stood slowly, hands up. I didn't do anything. She broke in. Officer Harper kept her attention on me. Ma'am, what happened? I told her. The phone call, the drive, breaking the window, finding Liam locked in a room upstairs, the lock on the outside of his door, how light he was when I picked him up. While I talked, Officer Parker went upstairs. I heard his footsteps, the creak of the door, his radio crackling. Harper, you need to see this. Officer Harper touched my arm. Wait here. She went up, came back 2 minutes later with her jaw tight. Mr. Vaughn, turn around, hands behind your back. What? I didn't. You're under arrest for child endangerment. Paramedics arrived while Officer Parker was handcuffing Derek. 2 of them, moving fast. The woman went to Rachel on the couch, checking her pulse and lifting her eyelids. The man came to me. I'm Todd. Can I check him out, buddy? Liam looked at me. I nodded. Todd knelt down and his face went carefully blank. He checked Liam's pulse at his wrist, then his neck, looked in his eyes with a small light, asked gentle questions. When did you last eat something? Does your tummy hurt? Can you tell me your name? Liam answered in whispers, still holding on to me with one hand. Todd looked up at me. He needs to go to the hospital, right away. I'm coming with him. Of course. He glanced at his partner, who was already loading Rachel onto a stretcher. We'll transport them both. Officer Harper came back while they were getting Rachel into the ambulance. I'm following you to the hospital. We'll need your statement, and I'm starting emergency protective custody paperwork. What does that mean? Liam stays with you tonight, probably longer. She looked at Liam, then back at me. You did the right thing, Mrs. Morrison. In the ambulance, Liam sat on my lap while Todd wrapped a blood pressure cuff around his thin arm. The lights inside were bright and sterile. Numbers blinked on a monitor. Grandma? I'm here. Are we going to your house after? Yes. Can I stay there? For real? I looked down at him. At this boy who was nothing but bones and fear and a hope so fragile it hurt to see. You're safe now. I've got you, and I'm not letting go. He leaned his head against my chest and closed his eyes. The ambulance pulled away, sirens starting, and I held my grandson and watched the house on Pine Street disappear behind us. The hospital lights were too bright. They took Liam into an examination room right away, a young doctor with tired eyes and steady hands. I stayed close while she worked, Liam's fingers gripping mine. She was gentle with him, asked him to stand on a scale, measured his height against a chart on the wall, looked in his ears and throat, listened to his chest with a stethoscope. Her face stayed calm, but I saw something change in her eyes when she pressed on his stomach and he winced. Does that hurt, sweetheart? Liam nodded. She wrote something on her clipboard. When did you last have a meal? A real meal, not just snacks. He looked at me, then back at her. I don't remember. This week? I don't think so. The doctor's pen stopped moving. She looked at me over Liam's head, and her expression went hard. Mrs. Morrison, could you step outside with me for a moment? I want Grandma to stay, Liam said, his voice climbing. I'm not going anywhere. I squeezed his hand. Just right outside the door, you'll see me through the window. In the hallway, the doctor pulled her clipboard against her chest. He weighs 38 pounds. A healthy 7-year-old should be between 50 and 55. She flipped a page. He's malnourished, dehydrated, and I found bruises on his arms and back in various stages of healing. This didn't happen overnight. I know. How long has this been going on? I don't know exactly. Months. Maybe longer. My voice came out flat. I only found out tonight. She looked back through the window at Liam sitting on the exam table, swinging his legs. He'll need to stay overnight for IV fluids. We'll run more tests in the morning. She met my eyes. I'm required to file a report with Child Services. Good. Officer Harper appeared at the nurses' station an hour later while they were getting Liam settled in a room. She had papers for me to sign, statements to review. We went through everything in the hallway, her taking notes while I answered questions. When we finished, she closed her notebook. Social worker should be here soon, she said. I'll check in tomorrow. Then she was gone. A woman in a gray suit arrived 20 minutes later. She had short brown hair and carried a briefcase that looked like it weighed 20 pounds. Mrs. Morrison, I'm Karen Hughes, Child Protective Services. She shook my hand. Can we talk? We sat in plastic chairs while Liam slept in the room behind us, IV line running into his arm. Karen pulled out forms and a pen. She asked questions in a voice that had heard too many bad stories. Where did I find him? What condition was the house in? Had I noticed signs before tonight? Why didn't I report sooner? That last one landed like a punch. I tried, I said. I called. I asked to visit. They moved and cut me off. I didn't know how bad it was. Karen wrote something down. The doctor's report is clear. Combined with the police report and your statement, I'm granting emergency temporary custody. Liam goes home with you when he's discharged. And after? There'll be a hearing in 2 weeks to make it official temporary custody. Then a full hearing in about 6 months for permanent placement. She looked up. You'll need a lawyer. I'll get one. His mother has rights. She'll fight this. Let her. Karen's expression softened just slightly. He's lucky you came when you did. I didn't feel lucky. I felt like I'd failed him for 6 months. They released Liam at dawn. The sky was turning gray over the parking lot as I buckled him into the car seat I'd kept in my garage, the one from when he was little. He fell asleep before we reached the highway. The house on Riverside Drive looked the same as when I'd left it. I carried Liam inside and up the stairs to the guest room. Clean sheets. A blue quilt I'd washed the day before. A lamp on the nightstand. I tucked him in and he didn't wake up. Downstairs, I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table. My hands were shaking. I wrapped them around the mug and watched the sun come up through the window. The cut on my palm from the broken glass had been bandaged at the hospital. It throbbed now, but I barely noticed. I thought about Danny, about Walter, about all the ways I'd lost people, and how close I'd come to losing Liam too. The coffee went cold while I sat there. Liam appeared in the doorway 3 hours later. The quilt wrapped around his shoulders. His hair stuck up on one side. He looked around like he wasn't sure where he was. Hey, I said. You hungry? Where am I? My house, remember? You're staying here now. He blinked. For real? For real. Come sit down, I'll make you breakfast. He climbed into a chair at the table and watched while I scrambled eggs and made toast, poured him a glass of milk. When I set the plate in front of him, he just stared at it. Go ahead, I said. He picked up the fork and took a small bite, then another. He ate slowly, like he was testing whether the food would stay, whether I'd take the plate away. Can I really stay here? He asked. Yes, you can. He took another bite, drank some milk. A minute passed. Can I really stay? I sat down across from him. Yes, Liam, you're staying with me. He nodded and kept eating. Got halfway through the eggs. Grandma? Yeah? Can I really stay? Yes, I said. I promise. He finished his breakfast after that. I called a lawyer that afternoon while Liam napped upstairs. Patricia Dunn had an office downtown, above a coffee shop. She was in her 50s with gray streaking through her dark hair and eyes that didn't miss anything. She listened while I told her everything, took notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she sat back in her chair. You'll need documentation, she said. Medical records from the hospital, police reports, financial records showing misuse of his survivor benefits. He gets survivor benefits? From his father's Social Security. Should be going to whoever has custody. She made a note. I'll need to subpoena Rachel's bank records. If she's been misusing that money, it'll help our case. It'll take about a week to get them. How much are we talking about? Depends on what your son was earning, but probably over $1,000 a month. She looked up. If they've been spending it on anything other than Liam's needs, we'll have proof of financial exploitation. Do what you need to do. The hearing is in 2 weeks. I'll have everything ready. A week later, Patricia called. The bank records came through. You need to see these. I went back to her office. She had printouts spread across her desk, lines highlighted in yellow. Liam receives $1,250 a month in survivor benefits from his father's Social Security. She pointed to the deposits, regular as clockwork. Now look at where the money's going. I looked. Liquor stores, bars, a tattoo parlor, cash withdrawals at casinos, online sports betting, restaurant charges for $50, $60, $80, almost nothing at grocery stores. They were using his money, I said. Every cent of it. Patricia tapped one line. This charge here? That's a truck payment. They used a dead man's Social Security benefits to pay for Derek's truck. My hands curled into fists on the desk. We'll use this in court, she said, along with everything else. Over the next 10 days, Patricia collected witness statements. The neighbor, Mrs. Foster, told how she'd seen Liam climb out a window looking thin and scared, how she'd given him a sandwich and asked if he was okay. His teacher, Mrs. Warren, provided records showing he'd attended school irregularly for 6 months before stopping completely 3 months ago. She'd noticed bruises on his arms, watched him lose weight, filed a report with CPS. Patricia got a copy of that CPS report. A caseworker had called Rachel, who said everything was fine. Liam had the flu. He'd be back in school soon. The caseworker marked it resolved and closed the file. Happens more than it should, Patricia said, her voice tight. Liam's pediatrician hadn't seen him in 14 months. No checkups, no vaccinations, no records at all. Rachel called me 4 days after I brought Liam home. She'd been released from the hospital the day before. I was making dinner when my phone rang. Unknown number. Judith? Her voice was thick, words sliding together. I need to talk to you. What do you want, Rachel? I want my son back. You can't just take him. You had no right to. I had every right. It was one bad night. I had a medical episode. I was sick. You were drunk. You've been drunk for months. That's not fair. You don't know what I've been dealing with. Losing Danny, trying to keep things together. You locked him in a room. Silence. You starved him, I said. You let Derek hurt him. Derek never hurt him. He was just trying to help. Liam is difficult sometimes, and Derek was doing his best. He's 7 years old, and he weighed 38 pounds. I love my son. Then you should have fed him. She started crying. I hung up. 2 weeks after that night at the hospital, I walked into the courthouse with Patricia. She carried a briefcase in one hand and a folder thick with papers in the other. I'd asked my neighbor Carol to watch Liam for the morning. They'll have a lawyer, Patricia said as we climbed the steps. Public defender, probably. They'll try to make you look like you overreacted, say you're too old to care for a child. Don't let them rattle you. I won't. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Rachel sat at a table with Derek and a young man in a cheap suit who looked barely out of law school. She wore a dress I'd never seen before, and her hair was pulled back neat. Derek had on a button-down shirt. They both looked sober. Rachel saw me, and her face crumpled. Derek stared straight ahead. The judge was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and reading glasses on a chain. Judge Harriet Powell, according to the nameplate on her desk. She reviewed the file in front of her, then looked at all of us. This is a hearing for temporary custody of Liam Morrison, age 7. Mrs. Morrison, you're petitioning for custody? Patricia stood. Yes, Your Honor. On what grounds? Severe neglect and child endangerment. We have medical reports, police reports, witness statements, and financial records documenting misuse of the child's survivor benefits. The public defender stood. Your Honor, my clients admit they had a difficult period, but this is an overreaction by a grandmother who— I've read the medical report, Judge Powell said, cutting him off. The child weighed 38 pounds and showed signs of long-term malnutrition. That's not a difficult period. That's neglect. The public defender sat down. Judge Powell looked at the papers in front of her for a long moment. flipped through pages, read something twice. Her jaw tightened. I'm granting temporary custody to Judith Morrison for 6 months pending a full custody hearing. Rachel Morrison will be allowed supervised visitation only, contingent on passing drug and alcohol screening before each visit. Derek Vaughn is barred from any contact with the child. Rachel let out a sound like something breaking. Derek shoved his chair back and stood. This is garbage. She broke into our house. Mr. Vaughn, sit down or I'll hold you in contempt. He grabbed his jacket and walked out. The door slammed behind him. Rachel was crying, her lawyer trying to talk to her in a low voice. She looked across the room at me, and I saw hurt and anger mixed together in her eyes. Judge Powell signed a document and handed it to the clerk. The full custody hearing is scheduled for 6 months from today. Mrs. Morrison, the child remains in your custody until that time. Patricia touched my arm. Let's go. Outside on the courthouse steps, I stood in the sun and let myself breathe. You won, Patricia said. For now. For now is enough. I drove home to find Liam and Carol in the kitchen making cookies. He had flour on his nose and was pressing shapes into dough with a cookie cutter. When I walked in, he looked up. What happened? You're staying with me. He put down the cookie cutter. For real? For real. For the next 6 months at least, and probably longer. He ran across the room and wrapped his arms around my waist. I held him and felt how much he'd gained back already, how much stronger he felt than a week ago. Small victories. We'd take them where we could get them. 6 months changes a child. Liam gained weight first, 10 pounds in the first month, another 8 in the second. The doctor measured him every week, made notes on his chart, nodded with something like satisfaction. By month 3, he was up to 52 pounds, still thin but not starving. The nightmares took longer. He'd wake up screaming 3-4 times a week at first. I'd go to his room and find him tangled in the sheets, calling for me even though I was right there. I'd sit on the edge of his bed until he fell back asleep, sometimes an hour or more. The therapist said it was normal, that trauma doesn't heal on a schedule. By month 5, the nightmares came maybe once a week. School started in September, a small elementary school 6 blocks from my house. Liam cried the first morning, wouldn't let go of my hand at the classroom door. His teacher, a young woman named Miss Phillips, knelt down and asked him about the backpack he was carrying. It had dinosaurs on it. Do you like dinosaurs? She asked. He nodded. Me too. Want to see the dinosaur books we have in our reading corner? He looked at me. I squeezed his hand and let go. By October, he had a friend, a boy named Marcus, who lived 2 streets over. They sat together at lunch and played at recess. Marcus's mother invited Liam over one Saturday, and I watched him walk up their driveway, shoulders a little less hunched than before. Small victories. Rachel was supposed to visit every Saturday at the supervised visitation center. The court order was clear. 10 a.m., 1 hour, social worker present, must pass alcohol screening first. The first Saturday, she didn't show. The second Saturday, she showed up drunk. The social worker turned her away and made a note in her file. Third Saturday, she came sober and on time. Liam sat across from her at a small table in a room painted yellow with toys in the corner. She tried to talk to him about school, about what he liked to do now. He gave one-word answers and watched the clock. After a month, he stopped asking if she was coming. You don't have to go if you don't want to, I told him one Friday night. The judge said I have to. The judge said she gets to visit if she shows up sober. You don't have to want it. He looked down at his hands. She's my mom. I know, but I don't want to see her. That's okay too. Rachel missed the next 3 visits. Liam didn't ask why. Patricia called me in early March, a week before the full custody hearing. They hired a real lawyer, she said. Not a public defender, someone with an actual practice. How? Derek's brother, apparently. He knows someone who owed him a favor. She paused. They're going to come after your age hard. You need to be ready. I'm 72. What am I supposed to say? The truth. You're healthy. You're financially stable. You have a support system. Liam is thriving with you. Her voice got harder. And you didn't starve him. I went to my own doctor and got a full physical, blood pressure good, cholesterol fine, heart healthy. She wrote a letter stating I was in excellent health for my age, with no conditions that would impair my ability to care for a child. Patricia requested a home study. A woman from Child Services came out, walked through every room, checked the smoke detectors and the locks on the medicine cabinet. She interviewed Liam in his room, while I waited downstairs. When she left, she said the report would be ready in a week. It came back clean. Appropriate living situation. Child well cared for. Grandmother capable and attentive. They don't have anything, Patricia said when I showed her the report. But they'll try anyway. The courthouse was packed the day of the hearing. Patricia met me outside with her briefcase and a folder thicker than last time. Liam's with his therapist in the waiting room, she said. She'll stay with him until we're done. I'd left him there 10 minutes ago, playing with blocks while Dr. Sanders sat nearby. He'd asked if he had to go into the courtroom. No, I'd said. You just wait here, I'll come get you when it's over. What if they make me go back with Mom? That's not going to happen. He didn't look convinced. Inside, Rachel sat with Derek and a man in an expensive suit. She'd done her hair, put on makeup. Derek wore a tie. They looked like different people. Rachel's eyes found mine across the room. I looked away. Judge Powell came in and everyone stood. She took her seat, adjusted her glasses and opened the file in front of her. This is the full custody hearing for Liam Morrison, age 7. Mrs. Judith Morrison is petitioning for permanent custody. She looked at Patricia. Counselor? Patricia stood. Yes, Your Honor. We're requesting full custody based on continued evidence of neglect and inability of the biological mother to provide safe care. Rachel's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client has made significant strides in addressing her issues. This hearing should consider reunification, not permanent removal. Judge Powell made a note. We'll hear testimony. Mrs. Morrison, please take the stand. I walked up and sat in the chair beside her desk. Swore to tell the truth. Patricia started easy. Asked me about Liam's progress over the past 6 months. I told her about the weight gain, the school, the therapy, about how he slept through the night, most nights now, how he laughed sometimes. Then Rachel's lawyer stood up for cross-examination. Mrs. Morrison, how old are you? 72. And Liam is almost 8 years old now? Yes. So when he's 18, you'll be 82. Can you really care for a teenager at that age? I'll be there for him however he needs me. But physically, can you keep up with an active teenage boy? I can keep up with him now. What about when you're 80, 85? Patricia stood. Objection, Your Honor. Speculation. I'll allow it, Judge Powell said. Mrs. Morrison, you may answer. I looked at Rachel's lawyer. I don't know what I'll be like at 80, but I know Liam is safe with me now, and I know what happened to him when he wasn't. The lawyer moved on, but his point was made. The doctor who'd examined Liam that first night came next. She brought his medical records, charts showing his weight over time, photos from the hospital that first night. He weighed 38 pounds when I examined him, she said. For a 7-year-old, that's severely underweight, dangerous. Judge Powell looked at the photos. Her mouth thinned. In your professional opinion, doctor, how long had this neglect been occurring? Months. At least 6, possibly longer. The malnutrition was severe and prolonged. And his recovery? Remarkable. He's gained 20 pounds, shows no lasting physical damage, but that required consistent care and proper nutrition, which he's clearly receiving now. Rachel took the stand after lunch. She wore a navy dress and kept her hands folded in her lap. When her lawyer asked her to explain what happened, she started crying. It was the worst time of my life, she said. I lost my husband. I was grieving. I made mistakes. Do you love your son? More than anything. What happened the night Mrs. Morrison took him? I'd been sick. I took too much cold medicine, and it made me drowsy. Derek was at work, and I just fell asleep. When I woke up, Liam was gone. Patricia stood for cross-examination. Miss Morrison, you testified you were sick. Is that why your blood alcohol level was 0.23 when the paramedics tested you? Rachel's face went red. I had been drinking earlier, but 0.23 is nearly 3 times the legal limit. Patricia pulled out a paper. Hospital records show you were treated for alcohol poisoning. I made a mistake that night. What about the lock on the outside of your son's bedroom door? Derek put that there. I didn't know. You didn't know your son was being locked in his room every night? Rachel's lawyer objected. Judge Powell overruled it. I was asleep. Rachel said. Derek handled things at night. How many supervised visitations have you attended in the last 6 months? Rachel looked down. I don't know. Several. According to the social worker's report, you've attended 4 out of 26 scheduled visits. You missed the rest or showed up intoxicated. Silence. Do you love your son, Ms. Morrison? Yes. Then why didn't you feed him? Rachel started crying again. Her lawyer called for a recess. Derek took the stand after the break. He sat with his arms crossed, jaw tight. Mr. Vaughn, what was your role in Liam's care? I tried to help Rachel. The kid was difficult, didn't listen. How did you discipline him? Send him to his room. Timeouts. Patricia stood. You locked him in his room with a bolt on the outside of the door. He needed boundaries. You spent his survivor benefits on alcohol and gambling. That's not. We had expenses. According to bank records, Liam received $1,250 monthly. Your rent was $800. Where did the rest go? Derek's face went red. We had other bills. Like your truck payment? Your bar tabs? Objection, Rachel's lawyer said. Overruled. Patricia pulled out more papers. Mr. Vaughn, you pled guilty to misdemeanor child neglect 6 months ago. Is that correct? Yeah. You received probation and were ordered to stay away from Liam. Yeah. No, not his mandva the train. You're violating that order by being here today. Derek shifted in his seat. Judge said I could come for the hearing. No further questions. Judge Powell took a 15-minute recess. When she came back, the courtroom went silent. I've reviewed all testimony and evidence, she said. I've been on this bench for 30 years. I've seen a lot of cases. This one is clear. She looked at me, then at Rachel. Age is not a barrier to custody when the alternative is a child suffering. Liam Morrison has thrived in his grandmother's care. He's gained weight, he's in school, he's in therapy. All reports indicate he's doing well. Rachel grabbed her lawyer's arm. Full permanent custody is granted to Judith Morrison. Judge Powell signed a paper. Rachel Morrison may petition for supervised visitation if she completes a residential treatment program and maintains sobriety for 1 year. Derek Vaughn is permanently barred from contact with the child. She brought down her gavel. Rachel made a sound like something dying. Derek stood and walked out without looking back. I sat very still. Court is adjourned. Patricia touched my shoulder. You won. Outside in the hallway, I found Liam with Dr. Sanders. He looked up when he saw me. What happened? I knelt down in front of him. You're staying with me. For good. Really? Really. He threw his arms around my neck and held on. I closed my eyes and held him back. For good. After the custody hearing, life had settled into a rhythm. Liam's 8th birthday had come and gone during those first months. A small party in the backyard with 6 kids from his class. Marcus and his little sister came. There was cake with blue frosting that stained everyone's mouths. Liam opened presents on the picnic table while the other kids chased each other around the yard. Books, a soccer ball, building blocks. When everyone left, he'd sat on the porch steps with me. That was a good birthday, he'd said. Yeah? The best one I remember. Now, a year after the court hearing, he was up to 58 pounds. The nightmares came maybe once a week. Dr. Sanders said he was doing well, that kids are resilient when they have stability. Rachel didn't come to that birthday party, didn't call, didn't send a card. The supervised visitation center stopped scheduling appointments for her after she missed 10 in a row. The social worker called to tell me Rachel had been banned from the center until she could provide proof of sobriety. How is she? I asked. Not good, Mrs. Morrison. I tried calling Rachel twice that summer. The first time she answered and started yelling, said I'd stolen her son, ruined her life, turned everyone against her. I hung up. The second time, a man answered, Derek? She doesn't want to talk to you, he said. I didn't call again. Instead, I focused on Liam, on the life we were building. In the evenings after dinner, I'd pull out the boxes I'd kept from Danny's childhood. Photo albums, his old baseball card collection in plastic sleeves, the jacket he wore in high school with his name stitched on the back. Liam would sit next to me on the couch and I'd tell him stories. Your dad was terrible at math, I said one night, showing him a report card. But he never gave up. He'd sit at this same kitchen table for hours working on problems. Was he good at baseball? He was okay. Better at trying hard than being naturally talented. I pulled out a team photo. That's him in the back row. Number 12. Liam traced his finger over his father's face. I look like him. You do. Around the eyes especially. Do you think he'd like me? My throat got tight. He'd love you. He did love you. The time he had with you. Liam held the photo for a long time. 8 months after the custody hearing, Patricia called. Rachel's in the hospital, she said. ICU, alcohol poisoning, nearly died. I sat down at the kitchen table. Is she okay? She's alive. Barely. Patricia paused. She asked the social worker for your number, wants to talk to you. Derek with her? He didn't even visit. I looked at the calendar on the wall. Liam would be home from school in an hour. I'll think about it. I drove to the hospital the next morning after dropping Liam at school. The ICU was on the 4th floor, quiet except for the beeping of machines. Rachel was in room 412. She looked small in the bed. Gray-faced, thin in a way that wasn't healthy. IV lines in both arms, monitors tracking her heartbeat and breathing. Her eyes were closed. I stood in the doorway, not sure if I should stay or go. She opened her eyes and saw me. Started crying immediately. Judith, you came. I walked in and sat in the chair next to her bed. Didn't say anything. I'm sorry, she said. Her voice was rough, broken. I'm so sorry for everything. I've lost everything. My son, my house, my whole life. You didn't lose Liam. You chose alcohol over him. She flinched but didn't argue. I know. Why did you want me here? Because you're the only person who came. Fresh tears ran down her face. Derek's gone. My friends stopped calling. The hospital said I almost died and I realized nobody would have cared. A doctor came in, checked Rachel's chart. He wore scrubs and had a stethoscope around his neck. Ms. Morrison, we need to talk about next steps, he said. He looked at me. Are you family? Her former mother-in-law. He nodded. Miss Morrison, your liver is failing. If you continue drinking, you won't survive another episode like this. I'm recommending inpatient treatment. 90 days minimum. Rachel looked at me, then back at the doctor. What if I say no? Then you'll be dead within a year. Probably sooner. The room went quiet except for the beeping machines. Rachel turned to me. If I do this, if I really get sober, will you let me see Liam again? I met her eyes. Prove it first. Not for me, for him. If I get better, if I really change, then we'll see, but I'm not promising anything. She nodded and closed her eyes. Okay, I'll do the program. Rachel went straight from the hospital to a treatment center 2 hours away. The social worker called me once a week with updates. The first month, Rachel was angry, fought with counselors, refused to participate in group therapy, threatened to leave. The second month, something shifted. She started talking in sessions, started writing in a journal they gave her. The social worker said she was finally facing what she'd been running from. The third month, she wrote letters, to Danny, to Liam, to herself. The social worker said some people need to write their way through grief. Rachel completed the 90-day program, filed for divorce from Derek while she was in treatment. He didn't contest it. A week after she got out, a letter came to my house. My name and address written in handwriting I recognized. I opened it at the kitchen table. Dear Judith, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't know if I can forgive myself, but I need you to know that I understand what I did. I starved my son. I let a man hurt him. I chose alcohol over everything that mattered. I can't undo those years. I can't give Liam back the childhood I stole from him. All I can do is try to be better now. I'm living in a sober house. I go to AA meetings every day. I have a job at a grocery store. It's not much, but it's honest work and I'm doing it sober. I know I have no right to ask anything from you. You saved Liam when I failed him. You gave him the life I couldn't. I'll never be able to thank you enough for that. If you ever think he might want to see me again, I'll be here. Sober, trying. I'm sorry for everything. Rachel. I read it 3 times, put it in a drawer. 6 months passed. The social worker called every month with updates. Rachel still sober, promoted to assistant manager at the grocery store, attending therapy, going to meetings, divorce finalized, living in her own apartment now. She's doing the work, the social worker said. Real change, not just talk. I thought about it for weeks. Watched Liam playing in the yard. Listened to him laugh at dinner. Saw how far he'd come. Finally, I called the social worker back. "One supervised visit," I said. "Just to see how it goes. I'll set it up." I hung up and looked out the window at Liam throwing a ball against the side of the house, catching it, throwing it again. We'd come so far. Maybe Rachel had too. We'd find out. I told Liam about the visit on a Saturday morning. He was 10 now, taller and stronger, but still small for his age. "Your mom wants to see you," I said. "She's been sober for over a year." He looked down at his cereal. "Do I have to go?" "Not if you don't want to." "Will I have to live with her again?" "No. You live here. This is your home. Always." He stirred his spoon through the milk. "What if she's different?" "She is different, but you can decide if that matters." The visit was scheduled for the following Wednesday at the visitation center. A small room with a table and chairs, toys in the corner nobody used anymore. The social worker sat by the door with her clipboard. Rachel arrived 10 minutes early. I saw her through the window, pacing in the parking lot. She wore jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back, clean, sober, nervous. When Liam walked in, she stood up and her hands went to her mouth. "Hi, sweetheart." He stayed by the door. "Hi. You got so big." He didn't answer. Rachel sat back down, waited. "Do you want to sit?" He sat across from her, not next to her. "I'm sorry," she said. "For everything. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know I understand what I did. I hurt you, and I'm trying to be better." Liam picked at his thumbnail. "How's school?" "Good." "What's your favorite subject?" "Science." "That's great. I was terrible at science." She tried to smile. "Do you have friends?" "Yeah, Marcus and some other kids." The hour crawled by. Rachel asked careful questions. Liam gave short answers. When the social worker said time was up, Liam stood immediately. "Can I see you again?" Rachel asked. He looked at me. I nodded. "If you want to." "Okay," he said. In the car on the way home, he stared out the window. "You okay?" I asked. She seemed different. "Yeah." "Is she going to stay different?" "I don't know." At his next therapy session, Dr. Sanders asked how it went. "She looked different," Liam said. "She sounded different too, like she was really listening." "How did that feel?" "Weird. I don't know if I should believe her." "That's fair," Dr. Sanders said. "You don't have to trust her right away." The visits continued, once a month at first, always supervised. Rachel brought a book one time, asked if he liked to read, brought colored pencils another time when he mentioned art class. She didn't push, didn't ask for hugs or try to be more than she was allowed to be. By the 6th visit, Liam laughed at something she said about a customer at the grocery store. It was quick, gone in a second. But Rachel's whole face changed when she heard it. A year into her sobriety, the social worker called. "Rachel's doing well. I'm recommending twice monthly visits." I agreed. Rachel sent a card a week later. Just 3 words. "Thank you, Judith." 6 months after that, Rachel asked to meet me for coffee. Just the two of us. We sat at a table by the window. She ordered decaf, hands wrapped around the cup. "I wanted to thank you," she said, "for giving me this chance, for saving Liam. I did what needed to be done. Can you ever forgive me?" I looked at her, really looked. She'd gained weight, healthy weight. Her eyes were clear. She looked tired, but not destroyed. "I don't know," I said, "but I see you trying. That matters." She nodded, tears slipping down her face. "I can't give him back the years I stole. I can only try to be better now." "Then keep trying." Liam's 11th birthday was coming up. He mentioned it at breakfast one morning. "Can Mom come to my party? Not just the supervised visit, the real party with my friends." I put down my coffee. "Are you sure?" "I want to try." I called Rachel that night. She cried when I told her. The party was small. 6 kids from school, Marcus and Rachel. She brought a baseball glove wrapped in blue paper. "Your dad had one just like this," she said when Liam opened it. He looked at her, then at me. I nodded. "Thanks," he said. Rachel stayed for an hour, helped clean up, talked to Marcus's parents about nothing important. When she left, Liam walked her to her car. She hugged him. He hugged her back. First time in 3 years. 18 months sober. Rachel was promoted to assistant manager, moved into a bigger apartment, kept going to meetings. The social worker's report stayed positive. During visits now, she told Liam stories about Danny. Things I didn't know, moments from their marriage. He used to sing in the shower, she said, terribly, but he didn't care. Liam smiled. Grandma says he was bad at math. The worst. I had to help him balance the checkbook. They were building something, slow and careful, but real. 3 years after that phone call in the dark, I made pot roast for dinner, set the table for 3. Rachel arrived at 6, carrying flowers. Liam let her in. They'd seen each other 2 days before, but he still seemed happy to see her. We sat down, the photo of Danny on the mantel behind us. I said grace. We ate. Rachel talked about her job, about a regular customer who always bought exactly 12 items. Liam showed us a school project about family trees. He'd included both of us, Rachel and me, branches growing in different directions but connected. This is really good, Rachel said, studying it. Miss Phillips gave me an A. After dinner, Liam went to his room to finish homework. Rachel and I cleared the table. Thank you, she said quietly, for not giving up on him, on us. I put the dishes in the sink. This is what family does. We find our way back. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Outside, the sun was setting over Riverside Drive. Liam's bike lay in the yard where he'd left it. A neighbor walked their dog past the house. Normal, quiet. We weren't healed completely. Maybe we never would be. But we were together. And we were trying. That was enough. So, that's my story. I'd love to hear what you think. Do you believe Rachel deserved a second chance with Liam? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more stories like mine.